Alright. It's sorry that we had to hit it. Oh, hang on. There we go. Now we have it creepy. Okay, we gotta do this. Okay, come on. Let's get ready, guys. Okay. Let's let the horror
with the
continue.
door closed. This is a thrilling tale, and a long one, but we don't want to spoil it, so we urge you to read this one for yourself. Let's just say that Annabelle can be found at the Warren Occult Museum in Moodus, Connecticut. Annabelle is reported to still move about occasionally, and is known to make growling noises at unsuspecting visitors. The 2011 film The Conjuring brought new interest to the Annabelle doll case, and the success of that film eventually led to the 2014 spin-off film, Annabelle. Go see it. It's terrible.
Really? 28! Alright. It's getting weirder and weirder.
Yeah, I know.
Liars.
Liars!
There was once
Sanders
a guy
liar!
named Jimmy who lived in a local neighborhood. He got bullied often for being confident and humorous. Jimmy tended to get into a lot of trouble because he would say things that would be considered over the line. Jimmy had told a cruel joke to another high school student called Brett, who had retaliated by cornering him in the science room. Brett was with his other friends too, and they had stolen some formic acid from the store cupboard and threw it in Jimmy's face.
This is weird.
Jimmy, in agony, was finally attended to by paramedics. Brett and his friends were questioned about the incident by the principal, and they had refused the attack, stating that Jimmy was seen in the room himself, meddling with the acid.
That's nice.
When he was discharged sometime later, he would not respond to anyone with anything other than the word liars.
Or am I?
His social life gone, unable to smile or even crack a joke anymore, he secluded himself in his room and began planning. Sick, vindictive thoughts started appearing in his mind. He would get them all, one by one. Brett had received a VHS package in the mail. When he viewed it, he saw his friends mangled, beaten,
Holy shit!
with the words liars written on their backs.
Holy fuck! There's so much
One
blood!
was tied
There's a
to a
big
chair.
giant sword! Oh,
As the camera
fuck!
cuts out, it restarts again.
Enderman, I'm
And
scared.
they're shown walking in the cold outside the woods. And Jimmy appears and growls liars before the tape ends. Brett, who is clearly terrified, tries to run out of the house, but is immediately knocked down. Jimmy is standing over him and pours acid on his face.
That's disgusting. 27!
Barbie.avi.
Ah, shit.
Barbie.avi is a story that first surfaced on 4chan's X board. On August 9th, 2009, a man had reported that he found a
Creepypasta
discarded
based on a
computer
strange
tower in
video
his
that showed
dumpster.
up on YouTube.
He said that he had searched the hard drive, only to find a file called Barbie.avi. The video was a woman apparently being interviewed, but was inaudible because of static. It seemed that the woman was being verbally abused, with skin being the only word the man thought he could read from her lips.
I have a bad feeling
After
about
40
this.
minutes of watching,
Mhm.
he was convinced that something horrible may have happened to her. One of the last stills of the video showed an abandoned house near some railroad tracks, which
That's
was
lovely.
incidentally located a few miles away from his own house. He gathered a friend, and they both went to investigate. They said that they couldn't find any trace of the woman inside of the building, but they did find water running in the decrepit house. When they heard a moan, they both fled the vicinity. Police officers went to investigate, but there were no signs of running water, and no noises at all were reported.
Okay. That's 26.
Laughing Jack. Laughing Jack is what is known as a clown known for being
I've seen
murderous.
him. I hate clowns.
His preferred method of killing is slicing open the stomach of said victim, removing the innards, and stuffing the body with candy. Before he kills his victim, he becomes imaginary friends with them. The child is then comfortable with Laughing Jack coming into their room and will suspect nothing when he murders them. In the original creepypasta of Laughing Jack, it is said that after the parents discover their son is murdered, they accidentally stab the child in the heart in an attempt to stab Laughing Jack. When the authorities arrive, it looks like the parent had murdered the boy themselves. The parent was charged with insanity.
Actually, he
and
reminds
was
me of
sent to a
Pennywise
mental
from It.
institution.
No,
There
don't
was
talk
never
about
an
Pennywise.
explanation
I
for
hate
what
him.
happened to
He
Laughing
bit off
Jack,
George's
so we can
arm
only
in the new
imagine that he is
2017
still
movie.
at large. Since Laughing Jack is some sort of
just saw him.
supernatural
I'm
entity
scared of the
or
man.
semi-divinity,
No,
he's
I don't
able
wanna
to make
see him.
use of magic,
No.
able to animate children's toys in their room, and control parallel worlds similar to an abandoned circus.
No, get out of here, please.
It's okay.
Faulty wiring.
Faulty
A
pirate.
strange case was told where an individual had believed his residence to be haunted. He complained about his electrical devices, such as the fridge, washing machine, rattling and making violent noises more than usual. There were never any complaints or incidents reported at the apartment, and it was thought the noises were just his old appliances. Yet
Good, that's
explained
from
that he
the,
frequently heard
intro.
noises such as scratching on the walls,
Yeah, I
bumps
can
in the
say
night.
that. There's
But there
wooden
was one
stairs.
instance where the power had cut. He went to seek help from the maintenance office, complaining about the power outage and whether he knew of any missing belongings. They both ventured into his apartment and discovered a spy camera behind his air conditioning unit.
What?
Wire and cables would branch off to move more tiny cameras, hidden in vents, one even wired into the eye of one of his pictures. The engineer had dug his way through the wall to the source of the cables. A few weeks had passed, and the man received a box at his mother's doorstep. It was unlabeled, but it had contained everything that was missing from his apartment.
Jesus,
It also contained a dirty,
apartment?
ripped piece of paper with a
Good, there's
message,
no way our
"I
apartment
like
could
your new
include
place
that.
much better."
Blue screen, why do you do this? Yeah, why do you do this? 24. Oh, it's sweet Christmas. Yeah, it's sweet Christmas.
Prisoner 959.
Prisoner 599.
Prisoner
Ha, just kidding.
959 was an inmate that was found locked in a steel cylinder in a prison in Hamtramck, Detroit. He was locked behind a classified steel bar door with 4 strange-looking locks on it. He has over 103 confirmed murders, although he potentially had claimed over 170.
Yeah,
He had killed
take that,
many known
prison
criminals,
bitch.
2 police officers, and when he was caught, he was in the act of flaying a fully conscious man alive. It took
You blame
6
us on police
tasers just to take him
brutality, right,
down.
Mario?
He was
Yeah,
also
I do.
responsible for
I
12
blame
more
our
murders
police
in a splatter
brutality for
home
this.
and 2 murdered inmates inside the prison. In 2010, there was a prison riot. One security guard detailed an extraordinary survival story. He had suspicions of the locked door for some time, and during the riot, he found a very odd-shaped key with a clear warning label next to it.
What's your
Immediately,
arm
he had run to the restricted door and closed the door behind him. His curiosity got the better of him, though, and he had to waken prisoner 959
Oh
from
god,
sleep.
we're talking.
In the end, the security guard had freed 959 from his chamber, but only out of survival. 959 said he wouldn't harm him, only those who threaten other human lives. And he was last seen tearing through the prison, killing everyone
Yeah, that's Black Friday
he
for
could
you.
see, including
Learn
other
your lesson,
officers.
people.
But prisoner 959 was never heard
And
of
I hate
ever
black
since.
people.
He has disappeared without a trace and has left no signs
Do not.
of
That's
his leave.
illegal. If you say
Police
it's black
investigations
people,
are
you
still
can't do
going,
this.
but
No,
according to public
I call the
detail,
black
it's quite
black
possible
too.
that the police are covering up their own investigation
Sir Black.
in order to prevent rioting
don't
and witch
say
hunts from sprouting in
B-word.
other
Don't say the
areas of the
B-word. Don't
country,
say black
as well
people.
as the city of
Shit.
Detroit.
Damn it, what have we done? This is now all of them are gonna kill us. 23! I hope the people are not gonna attack us.
Room 0.
Room 0?
Room 0 was a bomb shelter during the Cold War in the 1960s. It was large enough to hold the average patron number the theme park received daily, and was stocked with enough rations for them. The author was trying to get more information about Disney parks, since he saw something he wasn't supposed to see, and thinks he is being followed. Park workers have said they have seen Mickey Mouse silhouettes everywhere. Secret clubs that allow reckless behavior, and seeing strange people with gas masks that have Disney characters on them.
What?
Room
Like
0
Goofy and
was
Donald
used
Duck
once
and
in an
Mickey
attack.
Mouse? I don't get it.
Employees were put into the shelter, and many witnessed strange
I don't get it either,
things.
Sonic. But that's a pretty good
Ear-piercing
question.
screams were
Is it?
heard in the pitch blackness
Yes,
of the
it
room.
is actually.
Yeah,
But no
I
one
wonder
was
what's gonna
making any
happen now.
noise.
Who thought they died?
When they went to
Just kidding, I
investigate,
didn't see them yet.
no sound was coming from the shelter. A week later, it was decided that the shelter be buried under layers of cement. All the air ducts and generators were removed.
22. Just like old times, guys.
Yeah, it's really old times.
Dear Abby.
Dear Abby.
Dear Abby is a story about
Oh,
a man
dear
called
Abby,
Jay
okay.
who stalks a girl
Dear
called
Ari.
Abby.
Hello.
His obsession for love is displayed in a very chilling way. It's told as a series of letters that a grocery store employee writes to Abby.
Okay.
He goes from stealing surveillance tapes of her to spying on her.
This is getting boring.
In one
right,
of his
guys?
letters, he
No, I think this
complimented
is
her
pretty
on her
interesting.
sleeping,
Yeah, I got some.
and even pondered on why she spent so long in the bathroom.
No, the
After
charger.
breaking
Get in
into her
there.
apartment,
Thank you.
he begins to count all her hairs on her brush, disposing of all the beauty products, and looking through all the movie collections she has seen. After finding a photograph of her and her boyfriend, he violently snaps and destroys the photos, stating he
No,
was
Charger,
the one and
you're not
only
doing
friend
this
she
to me.
had. He hides under her bed when she enters that night, and touches her
damn it,
face while she
Charger.
is sleeping.
Come on, you're not. There we go.
She awakens to find one of the letters from him on the table. The letter had indicated that Jay had left a
Shit.
gift in the closet.
There
However,
we go.
what she found in the closet was a scrapbook of photos of her sleeping or on the computer. Other photos were of couples, but the faces were digitally cut out and were replaced with Jay's and hers.
This is not the end.
The final page showed herself and her boyfriend, though his face was
The end of
scratched off.
the end of Heights.
She immediately called the police to her residence, and they inspected the
A lot's
apartment
going
and
on,
scrapbook.
but I like it.
She was
Yeah,
told to
sure,
leave the
Edward.
premise the next
Can we
day.
smooch?
Okay.
Jay's final attempt was to kidnap her,
Oh, yeah.
and he viciously attacked
Oh,
her
go
before
smooch.
she
You better
could
look
drive
this
away.
way. Shit.
He dragged her to his car unconscious, and they both drove to the rented storage garage. The man calls the owner of the storage unit, and the place is locked. Abby awakens and is terrified of the sight of Jay wielding
Is
a
that a
knife.
shadow? Is that a shadow
She had
there?
grabbed hold of it and attacked him repeatedly. As he lays dying, he is comforted to know that whether she kills herself or dies of dehydration,
Oh, Jesus. I
they'd
don't
be
like that.
together in death, in a way they would never had the chance of being in life.
Being alive. 21. This is going well. Just like old times. Yes, it does, actually.
Storage Room 6.
Storage room
Police were
6.
called to the death of a plumber found at Storage Room 6 of a company which cannot be named. Sebastian Marquines was arrested in conjunction with the murder of the plumber. Jason Montero was acquitted to a medical hospital a week later and suffered life-threatening injuries. When interviewed, he said that the entity had attacked him. When questioned what the entity was, he had claimed it was a dark humanoid being with 3 white eyes and a large smile. It had tried to drown him in the flooded storage room 6, where his colleague Toby Nestrom was also found murdered.
That's weird.
Jason further went on to explain that the storage room had a terrible stench and that no lights were on in the vicinity. He had also explained that they had discovered crude indentations carved into a metal wall, which he couldn't explain. Nicholas Griswold had apparently been in a group that had fled and was unable to comment due to traumatic stress. Jason's laptop had been seized in the investigation, and officials found a video titled 70523-3NT1TY. The video showed a face depicting exactly what Jason had described, with text saying, "Hello, Mr. Montero."
What?
Whether this was a cruel joke to scare his colleagues or indeed a stalker, the investigation continues.
Oh my god, that's creepy. Freaking terrifying. 20!
Children's playground.
Children's playground.
This children's playground had a very odd incident attached to it. This playground featured rows of swings, slide, and a snake-like set of tunnels that weaved in and around the playground, providing a maze for the children to lose themselves in. There was even a functioning merry-go-round. The story involved 3 kids, and they're each respectively named Michael, Billy, and Tom.
Michael!
One of the games they played was called
Michael!
This was similar to the game hide-and-go-seek, but the seeker pretended to be a murderer, while the hider simply hide. The only difference is, in murder, once you're caught, you have to pretend to get murdered. In the playground, the kids would play this game inside a tunnel system and around it. One day, Tom and Michael were the hiders, and Billy was the seeker. Michael hid in the tunnels and Tom hid near the merry-go-round. Several minutes had passed and Billy had not come back to look for them. Michael claimed he witnessed something else in the tunnels with him. It was a figure described as a scary, very dirty man with tattered clothing and a scraggly beard with yellowed and black teeth. He claimed that this figure was stalking him. Michael, clearly terrified, managed to hide from the man who was too big to move throughout the tunnel system. The police found him much later with his parents waiting outside the maze of tunnels. Billy and Tom's fate were not so lucky, however. They were found brutally murdered and mutilated in a nearby skip.
Holy
Their skulls
shit!
cracked and glass found in their backs. It seemed that this homeless man had won their little game.
That's not good either. Oh, it's not. It's not good. 19! That's where Mom lives.
Knocking.
Knocking?
Knocking is a strange phenomenon that happens between household to household. It's been reported that it happens to 3% of the population, where an individual will be stalked by humanoid entities, hearing several sounds of knocking on their door and voices asking to be let into the room. One reported case was an individual called Steven, who grew up with this strange
Steven Universe! Shut the hell up.
When he would venture into different rooms, he would hear frantic knocking and voices asking for the door to be opened. Several times he would witness outlines of people through his window. He never opened the doors to all the voices, and it was only when he was in his 20s that the knocking was reported as becoming much more violent. One night, the knocking became very violent, and the voices became screams. But then the banging and voices had stopped. He had tried to open the door, but it was locked. It said, when he peeked through the keyhole of the door, his hallway wasn't there, but instead a lone classroom with a small boy. Stephen tried calling for him, but the boy ignored him, saying he was in detention and wasn't allowed. Stephen finally understood. He had met the hell that the knocking people had made.
Holy fuck. Oh god, we gotta go. We gotta go. We gotta go. Bye.